All right, so first, I want to say thank you for corporate, Grady, Sean, Andrew, the whole team that put this event together for us. There's literally not a better company out there where we have a free event like this, where everybody can get free knowledge. So shout out to them, and thank you so much for putting on this event. Now, into our topic, how to build rapport, take control, and make the sale. I want to start with, the idea that we work with leads. I would never be in this business if I had to door knock or if I couldn't work off of someone's information that has already been filled out, right? With that, we have the luxury of knowing what those people are interested in, right? So, when we're calling that person, they generally understand the idea of life insurance, and what they're looking for is a professional to walk them through the process and put them in the right product that's going to be the best for their situation, right? So with that, we work with a needed product, not a wanted product, right? And that's extremely, extremely important. The reason why I start with that is because there's a lot of value. If we have that attitude as we're going into the sale, right, and to dialing into whatever we're doing, it makes it a lot more simple, right? Now, with that, the whole idea and concept of the sale is going to be that doctor-patient relationship, right? Yes, they do have an understanding of what life insurance is, right? I think everybody does. You have a product in place that's going to pay out a death benefit to a beneficiary. Pretty simple, right? You can't overcomplicate that. But, they are expecting us to walk them through that process, right? To guide them in the right direction and, hey, what's going to be the best fit for them and really take care of their situation, right? So it's important to know that. One of the other important things, especially when it comes to building rapport, is the confidence that you're bringing to the table, right? If you're jumping on the phone, nervous, not really sure what to say, you're not confident with the direction that you're going to walk that person through in the sale, you're going to struggle. And I can't emphasize it enough, but, the most important thing that you need to bring to the table as a new agent is knowing your presentation from start to finish. What does that A to Z look like, right? If you're starting with your intro, your presentation, your building rapport, building value, your financial inventory quote, know those steps and know what it looks like to take a client through that process. With that, I also like to point out, why it's so frustrating when I see a new agent who can't even bring that to the table, or they think that's like a crazy expectation. And the reason why I say that is because before I came into this business, I was working at Costco, and when I had my interview, I literally studied for that job, right? I studied, I looked stuff up, I was curious about, what other interviews would look like, what they would potentially ask me, and I prepared for that, right? And that was for a job that I didn't even have. So why is it so hard for us to understand that, we need to have that expectation of know what the process is? That's a prerequisite. Bring that to the table, With that, when it comes to taking control, I did kind of mention this, but, just being assertive with the client, right? Leading them in the right direction and knowing that, hey, this is how it's going to go today, right? This is what we do. Obviously, you filled out the request. I already understand that, you have an importance to have this. Yeah, I might have to pull it out of you, but we're doing this here today. It's not a bad time. It takes 10, 15 minutes, right? I don't even need you to do anything. I, for the most part, just need you to listen, right? And I'm going to take the rest. I'm going to take the wheel from there. Another thing is you have to find the problem ASAP, right? Why are they on the phone with you? Why did they fill out that request? You got to pull that out ASAP, and you have to act on it, right? So whether that's going back, hitting on that point over and over and over, making sure that we have a good understanding of what we're trying to take care of on the phone here today, With that, when it comes to handling objections, right, and growth, I think a really important thing is people need to look in the mirror before they start blaming the client, right? It's very easy, and I hear all the time people say, oh, it was because my client had this, right? It was because they did this. It was because of this. Well, that wasn't my attitude when I came into the business. And my first year in this business, I was able to write $550K on my personal pen. That's an insane number to do from someone who's never come from sales in their very first year, right? But that was the way that I handled all the objections, when I was sitting down with clients. I didn't blame them as to why they gave that to me, because I do truly believe that every single person that we talk to has the ability to be closed, right? You just have to approach them the right way. You have to listen to them, and that's a very important part of it. So.
Yeah, great job, Jake. Guys, I think we can all agree that selling life insurance is completely different than like selling any other product, right? The client's never going to be able to, use it, see it, touch it, feel it, all that kind of stuff. And it's not going to be used typically until the worst day of, their life happens, they pass away, and their family, gets the check as the beneficiary. So building trust and building value, those are the two main things we have to master in your sales process. So number one, how do we build trust? So real quick, when you build trust, especially over the phone, you have to give them your credentials right away. So you guys heard Jamie and Josh speak earlier. There's websites, there's things, and even if you do it old school, at least just give the client your name, your NPN, your phone number, all that kind of stuff so they trust you and they know you're a professional. The second one is match and mirror. So guys, if you talk super loud and you're talking with a final expense client and they talk super low and slow, mirror their energy, slow down. If you talk to a guy from like the East Coast that's super loud and yelling on the phone, match the energy. You have to match what their tone of voice and how fast they're talking and stuff like that. The next one is build rapport. So this is key. These people can't see you. They're just talking to you over the phone. You have to build some sort of rapport. And so I want to build rapport to the point where it's still professional, but they still take me seriously. It's not too friendly. So some things you can ask and find out are basically, where they're from, what do they do for fun, what do they do for work, what type of travel they do, just things real quick to get to know them. The next thing is asking tie-down questions. So two of my favorite tie-down questions is, does that make sense? And is that fair? This will give you control, but it also makes it so they're paying attention, they're actually understanding what you're saying. Next one is actively listen and reiterate what they're saying. So if they say, hey, I'm looking to get my burial taken care of so my kid doesn't have to come out of pocket when I pass away, reiterate to them and reconfirm what they tell you. That's an easy way to pre-close them. The next one is don't be afraid to challenge them. So I'm always brutally honest with clients, and I always ask them up front, hey, John, do I have permission to be honest with you? And I've made more sales being honest with people and telling them not what they want to hear, but what they need to hear. And if you're brand new and you haven't had a death claim yet, I just had one on Wednesday. I've had a lot in my career, and it was this 20-year-old kid at the time. Now he's 25. He was 25. And I remember going to that kid's house, and he didn't take it seriously, and I had to build rapport and really finesse my way into the sale. And now I get the death claim, and I'm like, damn, if I didn't take it seriously and push and build rapport, his family would be in a tough spot. The next one is going to be building value and educating the client. So right off the bat, explain how you're a broker. You're not like everyone else. You're not like Jake from State Farm. You work with multiple A and A+ rated carriers. You're going to shop around for them and make sure you find them the right plan. The next one is finding their why. This may be the most important one. So every single call that you make, one of the first things you should ask them is, hey, Jake, why did you fill this out? And get them to tell you why. Why do you fill this out? Was it to protect your family if you pass away? Do you know someone who just passed away? Did you see something on TV? Why do you fill this out? And when they give you the why, another pre-closed tip where now you actually know why they requested it, and it's easier to close them at the end. The next thing is going to be don't let the client tell you what coverage they want. Educate them on the coverage that they need. So we've all been there where a client's like, oh yeah, I think burial costs $3,000. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, but it doesn't. I don't ask that. I tell them, hey, Jake, do you know that burial costs, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000? And then from there, I build value. So when you quote at the end before you close them, don't just give them numbers, give them value. So if you're doing final expense, hey, Jake, the gold option's $40,000. It's going to cover all the burial coverage, plus it's going to leave, $10,000, $15,000 behind for your family. The silver option, this is going to cover the bare minimum. There won't be anything left over. Then the bronze option, this is a good way to get your foot in the door and just see if you qualify. We can always look to upgrade later if we want to. So those are the tips, guys. Use those tips to build rapport and cement the sale. And let's have a huge fourth quarter. Talk to you guys later.